This is the Loaded Radio Podcast.
All right, hey, what's up? It is Scott Penfold, and this is another edition of the Loaded Radio Podcast. Great to be back with you here again this week for a special show this week. It's going to be a double shot. Yeah, a twofer. Two guests joining me for the next half hour. In the first half of the show, it's going to be Ken Mode frontman Jese Matthewson, who we just spoke with about a year ago, as he was at that point promoting the new album called Null. Well, they have a new album out again. This one, the follow-up to Null, really the part two of Null, of the whole project. It's called Void. So we're going to be speaking with Jese Matthewson in just a few moments. And as well, we're going to be speaking with the Deaf Dealer Union drummer CC McKenna. Now, this band has been around since 2019. They're out of California, and they recently brought in their singer in 2022, who you may recognize from Infected Rain, being Lena Scissorhands. They have the new album Initiation, which is out now, so we'll be speaking with CC about the band and the new album. But first off, before we get down to things, I do want to remind you, if you are listening to this podcast via YouTube, give us a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel if you like. And don't forget to check out loadedradio.com for all your hard rock and metal news updated constantly as well. The 24-hour live radio station featuring live personalities and specialty shows live 24/7 right there, just a click away for you, okay? But our first guest joining us right now is from the band Ken Mode. He's the frontman for the band. They are a noise rock band from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Some people call them metal. They are strictly loud bands, plain and simply what they are. The new album is called Void, and the frontman's name is Jese Matthewson. He joins us now right here on the Loaded Radio Podcast. Jesse, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
Doing okay. How are you?
Good to talk to you again, man. It hasn't been that long. I just spoke to you, I think, last year when the previous album came out. So, when Null came out.
This whole thing feels silly right now because we're doing another press cycle for the exact same writing and recording session. Only obviously it's clearly a different record, but yeah, it's weird reliving all this again.
Well, you know what? It's totally cool. It's always great to talk to you, man. But I mean, I guess that brings me into, like, what is the difference between this album and Null? Is there a significant difference at all?
I mean, sonically, there very much is a difference.
Okay.
In terms of the timing of when things were written, the pandemic provided barriers that forced us to continue writing. Originally, we were going to record an album in July of 2021, and just basically record all the material we'd done up to then. But the producer that we work with, Andrew Schneider, lives in New York, and at the time that we had to make the decision to like fly him up, we still couldn't get non-essential workers into Canada. So we had to delay the whole session another 6 months, and figured we'd just keep writing. And by the time we could get him up into Canada, we had 2 albums worth of material. And as a result of it all being treated as though it was one session, we couldn't keep repeating general feelings and sonic aesthetics. So it started shifting into different sounds to fill different voids, so to speak. And we ended up kind of constructing a record that is considerably more melodic and I'd say more melancholy than what we did on Null. And inherently, the songs themselves are also just catchier as a whole. So it's all very much part of the same project, but to me feels like distinct albums. So that's why we decided to separate them into 2 different works. Also, just from a commercial standpoint, I feel like we're not a band that anyone needs to listen to 75 minutes in a row from, at least unless you're like a diehard. And for a band of our size, diehards don't pay all the bills. So we needed to make a decision. And also just a double LP, like shipping that from Canada is really expensive. So I'd rather try and tuck that in just under that 0.5 kilogram mark.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, like, was there a thought for a while there that it would be a double album?
No, we knew it was 2 albums worth of material, but yeah, I don't think we ever really thought it would be a double album. And it's just, it works better on certain types of bands, but just, I don't know, not us. It's just too much material because each album is 8 songs, and to have to deal with 16 songs from us, ugh, that's a commitment.
It's overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Was it kind of like a pick and choose after? I mean, you had this body of work. Was it like, well, this one's going on here, this one's going on here? Was it that kind of a thing, like chasing sort of a mode mind the pun, but kind of like a feeling with each release, or what was it like you knew that you were going into this, that it was going to be like, there's going to be two projects?
Other than we knew that it would probably have to be separated out, we didn't really know how they would fall in the end. And it's very much, when you're working with a producer, they usually suggest, even when you're just dealing with a single album, don't actually come up with a track order and sequence until you've finished mixing everything, because generally speaking, the final product of the mixed songs are going to dictate something different than you maybe thought prior to recording. So we left that up to the chance of how these songs would feel when that was all said and done. And it just so happened that my first round of attempting to divide the songs out, my whole band agreed with. So shy of like some minor discrepancies between the track order on each album, we were all on the same page. So it worked out really nicely, but we really didn't know how we were going to divide them even while we were recording them. So I'm glad as soon as everything was said and done, like everyone was like, yeah, that makes sense. It was logical. And the funny thing to that is it largely divided according to when the songs were written, with Null mostly being 2020 and Void mostly being 2021. And I think that just, it from an aesthetic kind of just fell into place anyway, because it was reacting to the times that they were being written in. Yeah. And also in reaction to each other, because the songs in 2021, we weren't trying to repeat the same idea we'd done in 2020 already. Sure. Just for the sole sake of creating things that aren't boring. You want the songs to sound different, the overarching feeling to feel different. So we were treading on territory of playing more with melody and general melancholy than we were with the songs that ended up being Null from 2020.
So there's definitely more pandemic in this album then.
Almost like it started in the third lockdown we experienced in Manitoba, which was like 5 or 6 months in the middle of winter. So it kind of starts with that general feeling of hopelessness and extreme disappointment, because like, how the hell are we still doing this? How's it this long? Like, why can't people just act right? Yeah. And then it spread into the whole process of trying to open things back up, and everyone fighting over vaccine mandates, and everyone fighting over even opening back up to playing shows again. And it was a general reaction to like people just not acting right. Yeah. And the sadness that goes behind watching everyone do that.
But getting into some of the tracks on the album, I've heard quite a few of them, and really, and I would agree, there is a significant difference, I'd say, in the sound from Null. Tell me about the song "These Wires." Where did that one come from?
That one was actually one of the last songs written for this record, and it started with an idea that our bassist Scott had written, that which is literally the opening riff to the song, with that the bass progression, the little guitar melody, and the piano. Yep. So he sent that to me along with a couple other ideas, and I tweaked it to I think I slowed down the bass sequence, and then we fit it with a drum beat that Shane had that was previously in another song that we'd written that we never ended up using. And we kind of based the whole song around that. I filled out a couple of the heavier riffs, and then that kind of weird, almost epic sounding dip that happens in the middle of it. I wrote that one with Shane, and it was almost like a throwback song. We've had songs that felt like this in the past, but we kind of flexed some of the additional instrumentation a little bit more on this. And I feel like with every album, we get better at executing the vision that we'd initially intended. So it was nice to pull together a song like this with kind of those thunderous, epic, yet melodic feeling riffs from the band that we are right now. Yeah, I'm happy with the way that one turned out. Because it's definitely not like something people have heard from us in the last, I don't know, 5, almost 10 years.
It is a distinct sort of an experience listening to that song Another one that comes to mind for me is Painless. Where did that one originate from?
That one I wrote in February 2021 in an afternoon, just on a whim. And it's just such a fun song. Like it just, everything came to me and it made sense immediately. It wasn't terribly complicated. I think that the hardest part of that was coming up with a guitar lead, because I'm not a guitar lead kind of guy. And then Catherine came up with a reaction saxophone lead. So those were probably the hardest parts of that song. Everything else came very, very naturally. But it's a wild one, because the first time we played it, people started circle pitting, and like, we're not a circle pit band. We're not really a band that's used to people moshing at all. So
really?
Yeah, like, I mean, we've been around for now like almost 24 years, and we've historically not been a band that people mosh to, like, at all. And Catherine, it's funny because she said, like, that just doesn't make sense, because since she joined the band as a live musician, people have been moshing at almost every show. Like, yeah, and that's weird for us, Catherine.
I know, like, the depth that went into it. I know that last time we spoke, you know, that it was a difficult time for you, much like it was a lot of us in that time. Especially in 2020 going into 2021. But I mean, do you find now, like almost 2 years after the whole lockdown, that things are looking up for you personally and professionally?
As a band professionally, I'd say yes. We've the touring we've done for the Null cycle, and I mean, we got to kind of consider them both the same project in terms of a touring cycle, because we only separated it by a year. Yeah. So we still feel like we're touring Null as much as Void is coming out this month. Right. But from the band perspective, yeah, things have been going better than they ever have, which is surprising for us. And we always expect the other shoe to drop with that. Personally, I mean, things are interesting.
Well, that's good.
I had hip surgery in May, so I've been recovering from that all summer.
Oh, man, really? What happened? What was up with that?
I probably injured myself on tour like 8 years ago. I mean, I've been doing Muay Thai for 15 years, and I think it's been a combo of a few things that I tore the labrum in my hip, which is the sheath of cartilage that holds the head of the femur in place. Right. So I've been experiencing pretty severe chronic pain as a result of that, particularly coming out of the pandemic, because I think some of the muscles that help stabilize that were a little out of shape. And I've learned now what needs to be done to keep them in shape, but I had to fix the problem if I didn't want to get crippling arthritis in my hips. Right. So yeah, it's been a fun summer. I'm just hoping I can come back better than ever with this, which from what I was told, though, surgery was a complete success. I've been just nailing the physio. So as long as I don't mess anything up on tour now, that's the main thing. I'm supposed to be able to back to sport by January. So
yeah, well, hey, again, like you mentioned, it's been 24 years as a band, man. I mean, we're not those young kids anymore, right? So
no, unfortunately.
But even like for you and for Ken Mode, I mean, what do you feel is left for you to complete in your life, both professionally and personally? Do you still have things that you still have like landmarks that you feel you have to attain?
The only time we've really, I guess I'd be lying to you and myself if I said we didn't have landmarks for the band. They always felt pretty reasonable and not very overstated. Like 25 years ago, or I guess at this point, like 20, I did feel like we were on that cusp of like, you're basically a local band that wants to become an international band. So I that was like a marker that I wanted. At this point, like 10, 12 years ago, I wanted more people to acknowledge our existence, and I knew that touring was the only way we could get that done. Yeah. So that was a marker there. At this point, the past year, we've been enjoying getting invited back to getting to do some kind of cool festivals and generally playing shows that are better attended than we've ever had. So if we can maintain this and even grow it, great. I just want to be able to keep making art that means something to me, and having people care about it is an added bonus. It makes it so I don't have to invest my own money into it, which I would do, but I'd rather not.
Yeah, right, of course. Now, do you welcome the term noise rock for Ken Mode?
Yeah, at this point. I mean, I know a lot of the time people feel we're maybe a little too metal or a little too hardcore for noise rock sometimes, but like that is where we're coming from by and large. Like my roots are in like most of the classic noise rock bands. I know people haven't always viewed us that way because we have other influences, but I like to think that we're one of those carrying the torch for that bizarre subgenre right now.
And it's good. You're doing a great job of it too, man. A fine job. And the fact that you're a fellow Canadian too, I think is awesome too, man. So I'm right there behind you on that.
Want to do bands like Kittens, do them proud, right?
There you go, man. Now you have the fall tour coming up, of course. You got another fall run. After you wrap up those dates, you can take a break, or are you going to get right back to work? What's your plans?
Yeah, we don't really know. 2024 is kind of open. I know our European agent is starting to look into festivals over there for next year, which would be nice if we could tap into some of that summer fest action, because that's, it's usually financially lucrative, and it also helps you get in front of a lot of faces. We'll probably need to do some more touring for these albums, but I'd like to get back into writing, like have a pocket of time where I can get serious about trying to figure out what the vision for what's next will be, because I haven't had time to do that yet. We flirted with it in the summer, and I don't know if I'm out of that pocket where Null and Void were created yet. So I need to really get my head wrapped around what I want to see us doing next. I'm not exactly stressed out like we have to do something on a certain timeline, because putting 2 records out over 2 years is a pretty big undertaking. Sure. But yeah, we all, I'm sure, would like to get back to work sooner than later. So I feel better when I'm writing music, so I need to get myself into a headspace to do that, where I'm producing material that I'm proud of.
You know what, Jesse, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to us again today, man. And I look forward to seeing you out there on the road. I will be there, my friend. Always great to talk to you, man. All the best. And hopefully we'll see you in early 2024 then, man.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you very much for having me.
There he is. That's Jese Matthewson. He's the front man for the band Ken Mode. New album is called Void, the follow-up to Null. And it's available now, man. But hey, what's going on? It's Scott Penfold here with you on the Loaded Radio podcast. Our second guest is the drummer for the band Death Dealer Union. They've been around since about 2019. But they just brought in their vocalist, who you may recognize from the band Infected Rain, being Lena Scissorhands, who just joined the band in 2022, and they have the new album called Initiation, which is out now. And CC McKenna, drummer for the band, joining us right now. CC, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast this week, man.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries.
You guys are awesome, dude. I got to tell you right off the bat, I love the tracks I've heard off the forthcoming album thus far. Before we get into the tracks, though, I did want to ask, how did the band initially come together? Like going back before Lena, like how did the band initially get formed?
Yeah, thanks, man, and thanks for having me on. Basically, I put the band together around 2019 with and started auditioning like guitar players and I kind of knew how to build a band. I've been doing music for a long time, and so I found a great lead guitar player, Doug, and then he and I kind of started auditioning different people, and at the same time started writing songs. We were auditioning vocalists and shopping around for producers at the same time. And we connected with our producer, who then connected us with Lena. And that's kind of how it came together. And then we started doing some of our early singles, and then we just started writing more music and had more material. We invited her to join the band as the official front person, and here we are.
Had you guys tried out a few other singers before going
definitely.
to Lena?
Yeah, we tried out probably like 10 or 15 different ladies.
Wow.
We knew we wanted to have like a female. We knew the kind of the sound we were going for,
sure.
And we knew we wanted to have a female fronted a voice in the music. So, and we knew that, she just absolutely had to know metal.
Yeah.
So it was going to need someone with experience. And so, it was really hard to find that, to be honest with you.
Really?
We just got kind of lucky with Lena, and we just made a connection, and we're kind of like family now, and just here we go. We're off to the races. But yeah, it initially came together in 2019, 2020 around circumstances of writing music and a working studio in here in West LA, where I live actually at the beach in LA, but okay. One of our studios that we have is here. So, I mean, we were working in there and writing songs and doing stuff. And it was kind of during, it was a lot of it happened. It started before the whole COVID thing, but then the whole COVID thing happened, and we started just kind of trying to figure out what to do and making music. And I think everybody was on the same page as far as like the artists around town. And so we got inventive, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. Our project went from 1 single to 2 singles to more material to now it's going to be a full album. It's just gone on and gone on, and I just haven't thought to stop it yet. I guess So there we are. I mean, that's exactly kind of how the band came together. We did have a lineup change in the bass guitar, and then we did a video where we featured a second guitar player, but he was our producer. So he really just did it as like a performance just for that video, which was really great because that wasn't our Beneath the Surface single, but it was always like, it's a 2 guitar band because it's modeled after that classic 2 guitar hard rock LA sound.
And it definitely comes through too. Very, very, very melodic kind of stuff, I find. I went into this thinking, because I know Lena from Infected Rain, of course. So I went into it thinking it was going to be similar to that, but I was actually pleasantly surprised at how melodic she can sing and how well that delivery is.
Yeah, Lena's super versatile. I personally really like what she's doing in Death Dealer Union. Mm-hmm. And she does have a phenomenal voice.
Yeah.
And she's very good at her just everything. She is her own style too. There's no one that sings like her.
Yeah, but the cool thing is, though, she does bring in sort of that growl as well to some of your tracks. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool. She brings that too. I mean,
100%. Yeah, we wanted that. I mean, yeah, so we wanted to blend some of the old school influences, and we added electronics on some of the songs. We added and when I was making the drums or playing the drums, I wanted to keep it pocket and groovy, but I needed to do something. Like, it had to be, a little bit like a step up. And so I was doing not crazy overplay fills, but just the right amount. And then add in the European sort of polished with our producer. And then Lena's, super original sounding vocals. That's what you get.
Now, you'd mentioned your producer had stepped in there for the record. Who actually produced Initiation?
Valentino did. Valentin Voluta.
Okay, so has Valentin sort of been like involved in the band since the beginning?
He's almost like the fifth, sixth member of the band. It's kind of true. Lena, I met through Valentino right from the first single. So like when we were auditioning, like all those gals that weren't working out.
Yeah.
That's when Valentino suggested, let's take this track to Lena. And so we did, and that's how that all came about. And it happened very quickly. And then within like a couple of days, Lena was out here in LA, and her and I were doing a photo shoot, and it just kicked off quick. But Valentino's produced all the singles tracks and the full album, and we'll do the next record too.
Yeah, great production work. I got to say, like, the harmonies are amazing. It sounds phenomenal. It sounds really full. Sounds great.
Yeah, thank you very much. We tried. I mean, there was some. I listened back, and there's not a lot I would change. There's maybe you always listen, and you got the Monday morning.
Sure.
But I thought it came out really great. I do want to experiment with maybe different influences and inspirations, and perhaps even recording techniques on the next record. But the great thing about Valentino is I can translate kind of like the vision, and he gets it perfectly. And this is what we were going for. I mean, to have that bigger sound with some production in it.
And it's definitely there, especially when it comes to songs like, the Integument. Like, tell me about with that song, Integument. Like, where did that one come from?
That's a song I wrote a long time ago.
Really?
I wrote it with another guy, a couple of brothers that I was in a band with, and we still talk. In fact, I sent them, the track and the video, and they're just like so thrilled because they're like, "This is so cool." But it was basically a carryover song that I wrote a good part of. Mm-hmm. They have some writing credits as well, officially, but I just thought it was a great song too. I wanted to see what Lena could do with it. And sure enough, what she did just was really amazing. That was that. There was one other song on the record too that I think I borrowed from a past project that I was involved in, on some songs that we wrote back in the day that didn't really finish the way I wanted them to. Right. So I brought one more of those to the record as well. And that's the track Beyond Heaven, the last one on the record. Well,
another great track that I really liked a lot, another great single, is The Vow of Silence, or Vow of Silence. Where did that one come from?
That one was a flash of inspiration for me. Here, sitting where I'm sitting right this minute, I would guess, 18 months ago, I was right over there in the corner with one of my guitars.
Yeah.
And I was plugged into my amp that I keep here at the house for writing little things down and stuff like that. And, I just came up with that riff. That was it. And then the chorus. So this was the basic framework of the song. And so I just wrote it in I think I wrote it in 5 minutes. It just, when the inspiration is good, ask any guy that writes songs. Ask any guy in any of the other bands. They'll tell you. They'll say, yeah, we don't know where it comes from. It just comes when it does. It's just there.
It's like channeling almost. Right?
It almost is. Yeah.
And one thing I love about the band too is from the videos is just the imagery that you guys portray there too is really, really cool, man. And is that sort of an image that you guys are going to maintain and keep, like, even with your live performances too?
Well, I think, more or less. I mean, we're a gothic power metal band, I guess. I don't know what to call us, to be honest with you, but gothic power metal is like our image and our deal. And yeah, that's that's what we probably. I mean, we don't have any rules in the band, so I mean, right. You could see us tomorrow, and we might be, going, full EDM. I don't know. We might be in like tracksuits and,
or math metal or something.
Yeah. But no, that's the, we've, I've always liked the cool, gothic artwork, and
me too.
And that is, part of our name is, comes from, the underworld movies, the Death Dealers, that were the vampire assassins of right. that lived in Transylvania and Romania and stuff. So and that's where that's where the production value comes from, that region. And Lena is also Romanian. So, yes. We wanted to keep the DNA kind of pure along everything. So I think you'd likely see us carry this gothic, darker image, but we also have a lot of great uplifting positivity. So, in fact, the darkness isn't even it's only a color, really. It's not even saying, because there's no quote unquote bad or evil or anything. We don't we don't solicit to that kind of stuff. Right.
Sure.
There's beauty in darkness. We all grow in darkness. A seed grows in darkness. So this is what I talk about when I talk about balance, and then we also need the light. We need the nourishment of the sun and this. So we try to find that balance as people, and so I think it reflects in our music as well.
Certainly does. Now, are there live shows booked? I mean, when can people expect to see you guys live?
Yeah, so thanks. So we've got some regional stuff planned for around January area, maybe February, but something like that, some regional shows.
Like some West Coast stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Some West Coast shows around January, February. Cool. And then we're looking into more of an expansive tour dates in May, but I'm not sure what those dates are or going to be or where or how long yet. But that was talked about for May of 2024. Cool.
Obviously, you've got Initiation coming out now. That's going to hit. You've mentioned you got the shows. What are the future plans for the band? Like, what's going to be coming up in the time ahead? Like, what can people expect?
Yeah, I think they can expect, more material from Death Dealer Union. We have actually new material we started already. So
cool, man. Very cool.
Just the first inklings, but the spark is there. So we've kind of already started that. And, we're going to just keep going and keep having fun until we decided we don't want to do this anymore. So that's really all I can say. Certainly there's going to be another record. That's the plan right now. But, we're just barely getting this first one out. So, we got a lot of work ahead of us right now.
Certainly.
But we're trying to just get ourselves out there and let people know that we're here for their entertainment and to check us out and hit us on comments or whatever they want to do. Yeah, it's great to hear the feedback. We really enjoy interaction with the fans and everything. It's been really great.
That's awesome. CC, I can't wait to see you guys live and can't wait to hear the rest of the album, dude. Definitely hyped for you guys.
Thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate it.
Anytime, Chris.
Awesome rest of your day.
There he is, that's CC McKenna from Death Dealer Union, and check out Initiation, the new album. It's out now, man. It's essentially what he said. If you like goth power metal, it's probably something you're definitely going to want to dig, man. Just check it out anyway. It's good stuff, man. But it is Scott Penfold here, and thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back again next week with an all-new edition of the Loaded Radio podcast. Don't forget, check out loadedradio.com, or, of course, the 24-hour live radio station streaming 24/7 live with the live personalities, and as well, download the free Loaded Radio app where you can access all your news and as well past episodes of this very podcast. It's completely free. Get that wherever you get your apps, okay? But it's Scott Penfold, and we'll talk to you again next week right here on the Loaded Radio podcast.
Loaded Radio.